Roll call, please.
Sabers. Rice. Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Allen.
Here.
Sharp. Smith.
Here. We have a quorum. First executive session, we'll motion to enter into executive session according to South Dakota Codified Law 125 to 3 legal and 4 contractual.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Go into executive session. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to have removed?
Nothing to remove, but I want to comment, the Air Cup Venture Race every other year is a great deal, and if you haven't been out there, it's something unique that the city of Mitchell can offer, and one of those things that we need to look at and promote, so glad it's coming back.
If you like airplanes, it's fascinating to see. Okay.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Mrs. Charts. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of these? Roll call vote, please.
Dosher. McCardle. Allen.
Aye.
Chart. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Savers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor, members, city council, an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Is there anybody who wishes to address council? Okay, council have anything? Okay. Quarterly report and presentation for Mitchell Area Development Corporation and/or the chamber.
Sure. Mayor, council, thank you. Sonia Moeller, Mitchell Chamber Convention Visitors Bureau. Today you get the B team because our CEO, Mark Vox, is out of town on another matter. So thank you for having us. We always enjoy coming to these meetings. Pretty exciting stuff that happens here. Let's start out with current projects for the fourth quarter that the Development Corporation has been working on. The Academy for Educators and Industry is having a reboot to their program. It's been, I think, about 10 years that this program hasn't existed, so they are looking at a new and improved plan. This is an opportunity for educators to if you will, job shadow in area businesses so they can learn what type of things are taking place within those industries, and then we can look for those transferable skills within the school district. We are also working towards the summer STEM camp for middle school and elementary students. Again, how do we better educate our children into real life activities for work? So we're excited to be a part of that. And then we're working with Doug Greenway at the Corn Palace as well as Mitchell Tech and Dakota Wesleyan to host a college student welcome back that could take place at the plaza at a yet to be determined date. And then we'd also like the community to participate in that. Both post-secondary schools bring several students to our community, and we want to welcome them with open arms. They are a big part of Mitchell. Over the fourth quarter, MitchellSD.com has a job postings page, and we saw over 6,000 job views for all of those postings. So people are looking at them, seeing what type of jobs are available. The Development Corporation also closed on a local manufacturer who will be expanding their business and adding 8 new additional jobs. They completed the demolition of 3rd and Main, as well as attending the Dakota Wesleyan Business School groundbreaking, which will be a great addition as we move forward in the spring when they start that. Moving on to the Convention Visitors Bureau side, fourth quarter was a lot of shopping local and holiday marketing. We started a brand new holiday marketing campaign, Be Loyal to Local, or Buy Local, B-U-Y, or Bye-Bye, See You Later Local. So we feel that it is really important that everybody within Mitchell, as well as our surrounding area, shop our local retailers. They do give back to our community many times over. We had local radio ads that ran. We had 2 billboards. You can see the Be Loyal to Local campaign billboard there. We started a brand new digital campaign which produced over 100,000 impressions, so people were seeing those ads. As we look at just the year to date, this isn't in your packet, but I just wanted to highlight that MitchellSD.com saw over 80,000 visitors last fiscal year. The top pages were the event page, the home page, job posting page, as well as the retail business listing. 63% of those users are using mobile devices, and they're spending about 54 seconds average on the website, which is above the national average of 40 seconds. And the Visit Mitchell site has individuals who are spending about a minute 30 on the website, and again, this is above national trends, so we're happy to report that. Moving down to the Dakota Heartland Development Corporation. David Lambert works very hard in our region, and we are excited to share that TRIP added a new business. They renovated a building on their main street for a new neighborhood vet care center. And then Parkston will see opening March 1st, Absolute Parts Corporation, which is expanding truck and agriculture parts warehouse in Parkston. So that will be really nice for those local communities. As we know, those communities also in our region are beneficial for Mitchell. And then lastly, Mitchell Main Street and Beyond saw a 93% renewal rate in their memberships. They were voted the most enchanting Christmas Main Street in the country by Only in Your State travel writers, which earned free media. And anytime those travel writers select our community for something, that doesn't cost us anything, and it gets us free marketing, which is absolutely what we want. Lastly, they had 39 floats for the Parade of Lights and over 3,000 spectators, and they wrapped up the year with 400 kids at Christmas Shopping for Kids, and they had 50 volunteers help make that event a success. That's all I have for you, unless there are questions.
Sonia, what was the number again of the jobs that people went and 6,000?
Yeah, so in the fourth quarter on our job sites on MitchellSD.com, we had 6,000 job views. So for all of the jobs that were listed, and I thought about this as I walked in the door, I probably should have got the number of total jobs that were listed during the quarter. I can get that too. I don't know it off the top of my head, but 6,000 different times these jobs were looked at in the fourth quarter. And that was just fourth quarter? Just fourth quarter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Entertain a motion for the city council to recess to the board adjustment.
So
Motion by Mrs. Charks. Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Excuse me. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 2018-2020. Brenda Ziegler has applied for conditional use permit to operate a lodging house at the property located at 520 East 6th Avenue, legally described as lots 12 and east 45 feet of lot 11, block 15, Burrs Addition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Property is zoned R2. Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene as city council. Entertain a motion for the board of adjustment to adjourn city council, reconvene regular session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to accept South Dakota Land Water Conservation Fund grant.
Mayor and council, I'm happy to tell you that we were awarded $53,000 towards the skate park project. That is the grant funds from the Land Water Conservation Fund grant. We've also raised $22,000 to date, which brings us to a total of just over $75,000, almost two-thirds of the project. Tonight, I'm looking to ask you to accept the grant, and we're also looking, we still need a little over $47,000 for in contingency funds, but that would also mean that we would look at our revenue this year. We plan on it being kind of on the upside because we're past the newness of the indoor pool, and we've also added the ice bumper cars and a few other things. So we're planning on being on the upside of that revenue. And we also would look at tightening our belts a little bit this year to make this work.
Nate, when I'm looking at the drawings, I mean, this just looks great. Are you taking out what is currently there, or how will that work?
Nope, it's just adding on to our current skate park to make it a little bit larger. So the dark gray area is the current skate park, and then the light colored gray is the new additions, and they're concrete features, so they're going to last a lot longer than those ramps.
So the dark concrete, the flat surface is what's already there?
That's correct, and that'll stay.
Looks great.
Got something, Ms. Wright?
Question, so, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, committing contingency money in this early in the year is my concern. If we accept the grant money, can it be used, does it have to be used in 2020, or can it be used in 2021?
My understanding is we'll be able to use it in 2021. I can double check with that, but I'm pretty sure that they open it up in September, and I think you have a certain amount of time, maybe a year or two, to actually complete the project.
Okay, and thank you for commenting on, if we can tighten our belt, or if we can come up somewhere within parks with $47,000. It's a great project, and I'd love to see it, and it's an enhancement to the city. My question just is the timing, and so if we say go and we start construction, and I don't think you can really do this, but to say that we commit the contingency but then don't use it if we don't need to, or
Actually,
how I want to make us as safe as possible and making sure we can meet that and still meet construction this year, and if we don't think we can we push it to next year?
Typically, what we're doing is, as council has made tentative approval of different contingency requests, we just put a list together of that and keep that running total. We don't do any transfers until the end of the year. The other option that we have is we could look at where we ended the year in 2019. As I said at the last meeting, we won't have that till about March. But as council knows, we did have additional revenue come in beyond what, we met our goals for budget, and I had set aside some contingency for any potential revenue shortfall. So we could put together a couple different options for you to consider.
And could we consider that and know that we can talk about that before construction would start?
Yeah, we wouldn't start.
When would construction start?
Not till this summer, probably
April, May, June?
Probably more June, July, August.
Okay.
Yep.
So we could go ahead and approve the grant, but just wait on the other, correct? Wait
Go
on
ahead,
the
Stephanie,
47,000?
Yeah, and we will have a better plan put together for that. The other thing that Nate had mentioned in our management meeting was that they're still doing fundraising efforts too, so there's always the opportunity that amount could come down some more too.
We could have the Mr. Rice Bowl if you want to donate.
Well, I'm going to echo what Steve is saying. I think, it's just too early in the year to know what the other 11 months is going to bring us, and we're already learning on a few things that is happening in the city that we might have to address kind of on an emergency basis. And so I think it makes perfect sense that continue to raise funds at a minimum, at least we can bring it back for a capital expenditure in the budget hearings. And Stephanie is saying that she can also come with the potential of including it, and once we have a little better understanding of how we ended up with 19. So, Justin, are we okay with accepting the grant without identifying a match at this point, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that poses a significant problem. It's more about where those funds would eventually be coming from.
The bigger issue is you as council you're basically committing to find the difference.
Right, from someplace.
Right, yep.
I'll make that motion then to accept the grant,
Vote.
and we'll look at finances at another time.
Yeah, motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Allen.
And we will also confirm when the construction has to
Yeah,
occur for the
if
grant.
for some other reason, something happens and construction gets delayed, to confirm that we could push it
To
if we need to.
2021 if needed.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve amendment number 1 to agreement A 2019-30 for Sanborn Boulevard reconstruction phases 2 and 3 with SPN and Associates. Mr. Croce?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is for Sanborn Phase 2 and 3, modifying the scope of services for the consultant. The city will provide project management and oversight. SBN will continue with construction staking and consultation on an hourly, not-to-exceed basis. This agreement changes the original amount, which was $668,000 to $368,899.75.
Okay.
Well, anytime we can save money at the city, I guess it's kind of hard to vote against that, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve amendment number 1 to agreement A 2019-24 for East Central Drainage Basin Improvements Phase 2 with SPN Associates. Mr. Croce?
Mr. Mayor and Council, and this is the amendment for changing the East Central Drainage Improvement Projects contract with the consultant. Again, the city will provide the project management and oversight, and SPN will continue with construction staking and consultation as requested by the city on an hourly not-to-exceed basis. This changes the original agreement amount from $359,600 to $206,850.
Motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second?
second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve agreement A 2020-09, JVDT F, multi-jurisdictional joint powers agreement. Mr. Still, that could be you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is just, we have to renew this contract with all the agencies every year. This is just the one for this year. It's been reviewed by the city attorney, Mr. Johnson, for form. We just need the authorization for myself and the mayor to sign it and continue with the drug task force.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve agreement A 2020-10 with Bros Engineering for construction engineering services for Sanborn Boulevard Street Improvement Phases 2 and 3, Project A 2019-22. Mr. Croce?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an agreement to enter into a contract with Bros Engineering for inspection services on Sanborn Boulevard Utility and Street Improvements Phase 2 and 3. Staff recommends City Council approval for that engineering inspection services in the amount not to exceed $216,760.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Charks,
Second?
second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action on resolution R 2020-08, setting parking fees. Mr. Still?
Mayor and Council, this is a request to change the parking fees, or just to update them. They haven't been done for many years, is my understanding. It's creating some confusion with the time limits. People are coming to the police station and paying the lower amount, and they're already after the 48 hours. You can see the old pricing there. Then we're having to send out letters, use manpower to try to get them to come back in and pay it. I think it creates more of some issues with finance to try to get everything collected and put away. And I figured making one flat fee across the board is easy. It doesn't create any confusion, and it would just be easier to make the collections and have less manpower to try to process all of this when they're not correct or they don't pay the right amounts.
Well, I need a clarification. So are we talking about if they pay within the 48 hours, is that what we're saying? Or if they are still parked there after 48 hours? I guess I'm just...
If they pay, like an incident just happened here recently where they came in and it was, they were after the 48 hours, they were required to pay the higher fee. Well, they didn't. They just came in and slid the lower fee into the window and then they just took off. Well, then the dispatch has to go back, write a letter, postage, and it's just trying to get everybody on board.
So
People were paying, you
The
have
lower
48 hours to pay the lower fee, and people were coming in after the 48 hours, paying the lower fee, and then
okay,
making us find them.
my question, when does the 48 hours begin? The time on the ticket? And what if the public safety isn't open within 48 hours of that time?
48 hours starts at the beginning of when the ticket's issued, but public safety is open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, dispatch.
Or the drop box in back is open too.
But there's no way to timestamp when you pay at the box.
No, but they can pay at your counter up there at the public safety building. In the
Correct.
downtown.
At any time.
Well, and now it doesn't matter if they're before
Right.
48 or after 48. because
Correct.
it's all the
Correct.
same.
So my other question on this is, giving somebody a fee for parking illegally is supposed to act as a deterrent. So have we actually seen less people parking illegally based on the fee, or do we have any idea?
Well, over the past 5 years, we've had about 4,400 tickets issued, but I don't know the breakdown of that. I didn't have time to get all that together.
Because I totally agree the simplification of pre and post 48 hours, but why not just pick the $15 then?
Well, the reason I went with the higher one is because, like it's been, as talked to one of the members of finance, and as far as she remembered, it hadn't been changed for 20 years.
But
Well, in that
does
amount
it-
of time.
Does it need to change if it's providing the deterrent that it's supposed to provide?
Well,
Just changing it to simplify it to the higher number is just picking a number. I had Stephanie look since 2014, we've had, what? Oh, $7,215 total over all that time.
That might have been tickets written. It was a little confusing, so.
That's and if people are still parking illegally, raise it to $100. If we're really having an issue of people parking illegally and it's causing
You really
problems.
want to have people lined up outside the
I-
office.
I want to know the
Okay, I get you.
basis
All right.
of picking 30.
Steve, I'll just, well, I don't mean to jump in here, but I can let you know that typically if we've got repeat offenders
Yep.
who aren't paying their bills, we'll go to a secondary process where we'll actually bring those people into court, and they end up
Okay, and-
paying higher fees.
And that's great. And so how many times have we done that in the last 10 years?
Since I've been here, it maybe happens a couple of times a year
Oh.
that we have to reach that secondary
Okay.
enforcement
I don't think
mechanism.
$30 is outrageous. I'm just trying to understand the rationalization of, and I agree, get rid of the pre and post 48 hours, because if I got a ticket, I probably wouldn't know to go to public safety to pay it. I don't know, is that written on the ticket
I
someplace?
think it says that on the ticket.
Does it?
well, it says deposit this envelope in the drop box located at City Hall parking lot.
Okay, and there's no
Finance
way to
office, City Hall,
timestamp
or
that.
attach postage and mail it.
There's numerous ways. It tells you numerous ways.
Right, but not all the ways are verifiable for 48 hours. So I agree, get rid of the 48 hours. Right.
Right, I would think if that's the case, there'd be a benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
If we come in Monday morning, pick it up, and there's a ticket there, and it was supposed to be in there Friday, we would
Yeah.
assume it got it put in Friday night.
Yeah.
But if it was supposed to be in Thursday, and we pick it up Monday morning, we know it was late.
Right.
So then we're gonna have to go find it.
I think it's much needed, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sabers, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion?
Yeah, I just, so I noticed that one of the things is if they're parked over 48 hours, so I'm assuming that we issue a citation and 48 hours later their car is still parked there. I mean, to me, that seems like maybe that would be cause for a greater fine. I'm just wondering I'm just thinking, gosh,
Yes, they do.
so if they see it 48 hours later, it's still parked there, it hasn't been moved, then it would be automatically
Yes,
towed.
can be,
And
yeah.
so they pay the $30 and
And with that one, Susan, they can't actually write the ticket until it's been there for those 48 hours. So they have to observe it, wait the 48 hours, and then come back and write the ticket.
But if they issue the citation and 48 hours later it's still there, is that different than what this is, the definition of this?
Well, technically, you're supposed to move a car every 48 hours.
Right. Yeah, so the way that they do it is, they'd have to go out, they'd have to observe something sitting at a specific location. Who knows how long it had been there at that point? But they have to observe it, come back 48 hours later. If it hasn't moved, they can issue a ticket at that point, and they could tow it at that point if they need to. If they come back another 48 hours later, they could give another ticket, I guess. But they have to actually observe it, having stayed at a single location for 48 hours.
Glenn, the handicap zone, what's the current fee right now, since we don't have it specifically identified? Is it just a normal parking of $15?
On the handicap specifically,
Yeah.
under city code, it's, the way it's labeled, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's anywhere from $100 to $500. And there were some instances where I think some of the officers were putting different amounts in there, and it wasn't consistent.
Okay.
So that line was blank, and then after speaking with Mr. Johnson, I think we decided $200 flat fee across the board, and that was fair for everybody.
Okay, makes sense.
I think,
Okay, we have a
to
motion.
remind me,
Oh,
Glenn,
It just, it says on there, in March 9th, if this goes through, is when these will go into effect, right? All fees will go into
yeah,
effect
I think
March
we
9th.
did put a date on there.
March 9th, yes.
Yep.
Would basically line up with the publication and
publication
referral
and the-
periods.
Okay.
We just specified the date to make it more clear.
Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Second reading of ordinance 2020-01, establishing airport ramp regulations. Mr. Croce, you going to speak to this again? Mr. Johnson?
Yeah. I don't remember which one of us spoke last time.
I don't remember either.
I think it was you.
I remember it was a brief conversation, though. So I guess I don't really have anything to add other than the last time. Just a couple of basic rules for the use of the airport ramp.
Move to place on second reading.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Is that you, Steve?
Yes.
Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Motion to adopt. Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen,
Aye.
Chark. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Motion carries. First read, First reading of ordinance 020-2002, an ordinance changing the district classification of real property currently owned by Vera Queen of Peace from urban development district to R4 high-density residential to the Ridgeview on Foster Plan Development, and there is a request to table this. The Planning Commission tabled it till a future meeting. There are some revisions being done to the plat of this. So the recommendation is to table it, or the request is to table it.
Move to table.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? Come on up.
Hi. There have been some...
State your name.
Oh,
first.
hi.
You're
Yes,
on.
thank you. Kathy Wire, I'm a resident.
Thank you.
There have been some public persons involved with this project who have used their public platform to portray our neighborhood group as fearful and anti-development, that we are mounting a campaign to kill this idea. Please understand, we are not anti-development. In reality, we are reasonable people, and we simply wish to voice our concerns about a large project that fails to address the climate of the surrounding community and indeed the business opportunities available in our own city of Mitchell. There are many unanswered issues about the Ridgeview on Foster planned urban development, which is why the concept was tabled at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. In a project this size, there are numerous aspects to be considered, many of which have not been addressed publicly. The neighborhood to the north of the project, right across the street on 8th, has large houses with spacious lots. Can the planned homes and lot sizes on the south side of 8th be redrawn to blend with the existing neighborhood? The project is named Ridgeview on Foster, when in fact there is no access off Foster Street until Phase 2, which may or may not happen for another 10 to 20 years. Newspaper articles and conversations lead us to the conclusion that construction and resident traffic will use the 8th Avenue corridor, as that is where the first homes are planned. Can there be no access from Foster Street from the get-go? Have there been traffic studies on the effects of this development on Foster Street traffic and surrounding neighborhoods? Have there been studies, besides the public survey, to document the need for housing in the target financial range? Have local realtors been contacted to find out what is needed and what sells? Those we speak with tell us that existing housing in the $180,000 to $225,000 range are plentiful and stay on the market for quite a while. In addition, trends have leaned toward renting versus buying. There are plenty of rental opportunities. We have seen varying reports on the houses to be offered, first at under $200,000 and then $250,000 to $275,000. That is quite a range, and we are curious as to which it is. Will there be wide opportunity for local builders to participate in the construction? Will local banks be offering financing? Will local realtors have access to selling these homes? Have there been drainage studies performed on the existing field? That field absorbs a lot of water. When the field is covered with houses and streets, that water will need large and well-maintained avenues to flow to safe places. From the fire marshal's comments at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, we gathered that the fire department was not involved in the planning of this community to secure first responder access. Again, we are not anti-development. We simply wish to reach a compromise so that the new neighborhood can blend well with the existing community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Pam Bathke, and I live on 8th Street. We certainly value Avera's intent with this gift of land, and we want their dream of affordable housing to come to fruition. My neighbors and I are committed to cooperatively working with the Development Corporation and Avera. However, cooperation is a two-way street, and in the spirit of cooperation, all parties need to convey accurate and complete information. This picture has been shown as representative of what will be in the development. It has come to my attention that this house is actually 62 feet wide, and a local builder has confirmed that for me. The builder's RFP calls for all home plan designs to fit on a 60 by 134 lot. One issue my neighbors and I have been opposed to is the small 60-foot lots on 8th Street. So why has this picture of a 62-foot home been shown at 3 different meetings I've attended? The builder's RFP meeting, a meeting with the neighbors, and planning and zoning. Since this house doesn't even fit on a 60-foot lot, it is a misrepresentation. Furthermore, this home depicts several items that are above and beyond the minimum standards of the builder's RFP. This would include 1,678 square feet, a double
attached garage, 3 ridge lines on the roof, 3 different exterior finishes, transom windows, a large covered porch, a full unfinished basement. A home builder is not going to be able to easily include all these items in a $200,000 home and still have room for profit. Again, this picture is a misrepresentation. I would kindly ask the Development Corporation to develop and present renderings that meet and do not exceed the minimum standards of the builder's RFP. Because if that is what the builder is allowed to propose, then those are the pictures the public needs to see. This community and its leaders should be focused on informed decision-making. That can only happen when accurate information is presented. We are not certain of where the Development Corp currently stands with any revisions to the initial development design, but we want to keep talking with them, and we want to keep moving this forward in the right direction. But to do so, we all need to place value on an honest exchange of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, we have a motion to table. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're adjourned.